Over the past 24 hours, Kenyan political scene has been busy. From Magarini to the Senate chambers, all the way to Malava and to Mbeere North, everything is happening in a very busy manner. Every politician is trying to have a fix of their party ahead of the 27th by-election, but is also using this as an opportunity to prepare the ground for the major elections in 2027. In this episode of The People's Mirror, and if you're joining The People's Mirror for the first time, please hit the subscribe button. We are fairly a small channel and your contribution to our growth is really appreciated. Today we want to put before the mirror a lot of statements that were made within the past 24 hours which are worthy of your consumption and has an effect of shaping the Kenyan political future moving forward. But first, we want to start with what happened within the Senate chambers. Honorable Boni Khalwale was ousted from the chambers yesterday by Honorable Kingi. Now this is not anything new, but if we take a look deeper into the statements that had Boni ousted, then you can see that the ousting of Boni Khalwale, or rather the cause of the fight between Boni and whoever made him to be ousted from the Senate buildings, is as a result of the fact that there is currently a rift within the UDA party, and Boni Khalwale is one of the antagonizers of that particular rift. Now yesterday, Boni was having a conversation, or rather submitting before the Senate. Boni is the chief whip of the Senate right now under the UDA party ticket. So while he was making his statements, he said that it took the intervention of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, to have two Kenyans released from Uganda's confinement. And the two Kenyans he was referring to was Bob Njagi and his colleague, who were for some time abducted within Ugandan borders, and Kenyans asked repeatedly for their release, including Kenyans asking Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, who is the Prime CS and Foreign Affairs CS, to actually intervene and have those particular individuals returned to Kenya. So in what Boni revealed to us in his submission before the Senate yesterday, it took the intervention of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, because according to Boni, the current president failed, meaning even Honorable Musalia Mudavadi failed in that attempt. Now that statement of Boni Khalwale has its effect, and we'll take a look at that shortly. But after he said that, before he could proceed to his following statement, Honorable Cherigai, who is the senator of Nandi County, stood on a point of order and asked the speaker to compel Boni Khalwale to provide evidence that it took the intervention of the former president to release Bob Njagi and his colleague. Further to that, Honorable Cherigai also asked the speaker to request Boni Khalwale to actually withdraw those statements and apologize in absence of solid evidence. So Kingi, behaving in order of the standing orders of the Senate, a respectable house within the Kenyan's governing structure, asked Boni Khalwale to actually substantiate his statements with evidence, or withdraw, apologize, and proceed with the rest of his submission. Now when asked to substantiate, Boni dilly-dallied and said he was speaking from a point of knowledge and he didn't have time to come and start substantiating for Cherigai claims within the Senate. This even told Cherigai outrightly that if it made Cherigai happy or added for him some bonga points back at home to interrupt Boni Khalwale's presentations in the Senate, then he was gladly willing to let Cherigai's bonga points go up. Kingi still put him on the spot, and this was very interesting, because then he said he was not going to apologize or withdraw or continue with his submission. He was going to keep quiet. Now it was at this point that Boni Khalwale went silent, that Honorable Kingi, the current Speaker of the Senate of Kenya, asked him to walk out of the Senate amidst the proceedings until the proceeding for that day, yesterday, came to an end, in line of not obeying the standing orders of the Speaker. So Boni obeyed and walked out. Now that Boni walked out of the Senate, let's go to the weight of his political statements and why they were made, or why even Cherigai was affecting Boni or attacking Boni Khalwale's submission. Of course, it's a normal thing that the senators always raise points of information, or sometimes senators arise on standing orders to ask for clarifications or for evidence on certain statements of other senators. But when you're working in one cohort like the chief whip of the UDA party and a senator of Nandi under the UDA party, most likely you don't see this behavior coming from individuals from the same party. Sometimes it's always the individual from the opposing party bringing such an issue on a standing order ground or on a point of information. And so Cherigai doing this with his chief whip shows you the rift within UDA. And this rift is not new, because some hours before Boni Khalwale made these statements in the Senate, Boni Khalwale was in a rally in the backyard of Malava constituency, in a rally where he issued a lot of bullet statements to Luhya leaders and even to Ruto. Boni Khalwale, who is a UDA chief whip, maintain and repeat that a lot of times and has not resigned in that particular position, was in a rally for Honorable Seth Panyako. And as we did in our previous episode, we detailed to you that Boni Khalwale now has joined hands with the other cohort to support Seth Panyako. But yesterday, he provided solid grounds why he was doing this. He said that number one, they got into an agreement with the Ruto from the very beginning. In this agreement had himself, had Honorable Oparanya, had Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and Honorable Wetangula. And all these people agreed that 1,000 kilometers of roads was supposed to be built for the Luhya nation as part of supporting President William Ruto with the over 1 million votes that comes from that region. Whereas most counties from this region did not in overall vote President William Ruto over Raila Odinga. The amount of votes that Ruto got from this particular region cannot be downplayed. And so he said that they got into that arrangement to deliver that particular amount of votes because they expected 1,000 kilometers of roads to be built. So far, none of those roads have been built. Other than that, he says that if Ruto wanted to have influence over this region, of just during this by-election, for example, that is set for less than 10 days from now, then it beats logic to use his own AD, that is Farouk Kibet, to lure the Luhya people to vote for UDA. It shows disrespect to the Luhya leaders who support UDA from that particular region. And in this front, he presented himself as a majority whip in the Senate. He presented someone like Oparanya, who is in the ministry, presented someone like Musalia Mudavadi, who is a prime CS, or even Wetangula, who is Speaker of the National Assembly, whereas the other three can be, exempted from campaigns because of the positions that they hold in government. They were still Luhya leaders that could have been used to speak the Luhya language and ask them to support the UDA party. So he sees using Farouk Kibet as an ISO actually for this particular region, and he asks the electorates that how would they feel if it was Boni Khalwale that has been sent to Nandi to ask the Nandi people to vote in a particular way. So it shows that Ruto disrespects the region, and this is the reason why he's currently now distancing himself from the UDA alliance in this particular area. Then he faulted Honorable Oparanya. He told him that one time, once the Luhya community unites, then perhaps it will get to a point where even Oparanya will lose his seat and his position of privilege before or next to the president. Because Ruto will ask him, if I need that region, who do I talk to? And if Oparanya is not part of the strong mix that will unite the Luhya region, then even Oparanya's own position in that particular arrangement is being threatened. So he called upon Oparanya, Musalia Mudavadi again, and Wetangula, who he says are the rich elite of Luhya, and he has now asked them to come and join hands with the Luhya people in this fight, because this fight is Luhya people. He said it does not matter who will be governor, it does not matter who will be president, it does not matter how 2027 will go. But right now, they are all joining their forces behind Seth Panyako, the individual that now they are fronting as the joint Luhya candidate for the Luhya unity that we are experiencing in Malava. Ndakwa is also a Luhya, so perhaps you might ask yourself, why then are they not supporting Ndakwa with the same vehemence that they are supporting Honorable Panyako with? And to this extent, they are saying Ndakwa is currently an MCA and he has not actually resigned from his position as an MCA. The effect of this is that he has the room to go back and serve as an MCA if he decides to leave this particular position for Honorable Seth Panyako from the DAP Kenya party. Now, this particular by-election, which acts as a pre-referendum or rather referendum to show who owns what and who has what political weight, has the Republic talking ahead of the 10 days that these particular elections are supposed to be held. And from Malava to Magarini to Banisa to Mbeere North to Kasipul to Baringo to Nyamira to Narok and everywhere that all these 24 by-elections are being held, the fight is being divided just between two camps, the Ruto camp and the camp that is not in the Ruto's camp. And as these things keep developing, we bring to you daily updates from the counties. If there are statements, bullet statements worthy of consumption that have been made that can shape this particular by-election and also that has the effect of reshaping the 2027 elections, then here the People's Mirror, we will keep bringing them to you. So that is actually what has happened in that particular part of the nation now, where Honorable Boni Khalwale, the chief whip and majority leader of the Senate under the UDA party, has now ditched his party, as we said in our previous episode, and has provided reasons this time for ditching his party, and has faulted the government really for using Farouk to actually, ask voters in Malava to vote for them. Later on, we'll put for you before the mirror also statements that were made in the same constituency by Honorable Natembe, which were also really succinct and pointed to the fault of the government and the need for the Luhyas to unite once and for all moving forward. Not to forget this. This is very important. Boni Khalwale said that Raila Odinga's exit is very, very important because now it has provided a new platform for Luhya politics. And to that end, he was saying that Luhyas should not have served under that utumwa Raila's ODM for all those years, only to be freed and serve another under another utumwa of Ruto for whatever amount of years. Not specifically Ruto, but under utumwa of any other party that is not Luhya party. So whereas this seems like a hostile ground for just UDA right now, ahead of the 2027 major elections, Luhya land might be resistant to any party that does not put in consideration the Luhya nation. And so this might be a region that will be controlled by DAP Kenya party for some time, and their negotiation power will come from DAP Kenya party, even if it's the DCP that would want to penetrate this party, ODM or KANU, and not UDA. So the Luhya unity is something new, and it's something that we need to expect and see as a reshaper of Kenyan politics ahead of the 2027 major elections.